Morning, Jaguars. It's Miss Holt in the Media Center and it's first chapter feature day. Today I'm going to feature a new book in our library called Words on Fire. This is historical fiction and it takes place during World War II by Jennifer Nielsen. And a lot of you guys know this author from some books such as Night Divided and Resistance. So she's a pretty popular author, great historical fiction books. So we're going to go ahead and start reading. My name is Audra. In my language, Lithuanian, it means storm. But my language has become illegal. If the soldiers we passed on the roads heard us speaking it, we could be whipped on the spot or arrested. In some cases, we might disappear. That happens sometimes. So I avoided saying my name in public, but I often wondered, if my language was forbidden, then my name was forbidden, which meant I had no name, which left me perfectly free to do everything I could to defy the Russian occupiers. I redoubled my grip on the slacks over my shoulder and braced myself against the wind coming at me, continuing down the path. I'd come this far. No matter what was ahead, I could not stop now. I would not stop now. Too many lives depended on me, starting with those of my parents. My father was made of magic. Not real magic, of course. I knew magic wasn't real, but if it had ever been, then it was inside my father's quick hands and lively voice. He was born with tricks and effects and a talent to share with others, delighting audiences wherever he traveled. I wish I could be more like him, bold and adventurous, always ready with a joke or a story. Instead, I was the girl who ducked into the shadows when we had visitors, the girl who watched life from afar but rarely participated, the girl who wanted to be more than she was, but knew such a thing would be the kind of magic even my father couldn't achieve. Mama's magic was different. Since Papa's work took him away so often, she found ways to fill our home with the smells of fried bread, with the music she sang as we worked in the garden, and with her tender goodnight kisses on my cheek. Those times were special, but nothing replaced the moments when we were all together. I loved to sit at Papa's feet by the fire, watching him prepare for his shows, letting him test his tricks on me to see if I could guess the secrets. By now I could, of course. I'd seen every trick 100 times and could do many of them myself, but never in public and never like him. You can be like him in other ways, Mama often said, on the nights when Papa was gone. Be happy like him. Be smart like him. But do not travel like him. That's not for you. I had no wish for that either. Lithuania was a dangerous place to live. My parents had often explained that is their reason for keeping me on their little farm. Our country was occupied by Cossack soldiers from Russia, the empire that claimed Lithuania as its own. Lithuanians disagreed, of course, but we were a small country of farmers and simple peasant folk. What were we going to do against such a large empire? We're supposed to keep our heads down and obey their laws, Mama said whenever Father broached the question. For Audra's sake. All of this is for Audra's sake, was always Papa's answers. Those conversations continued late into the night, long after they thought I was asleep, and those were the moments when I realized something about my father's work had begun to make my Mama nervous. Has this gone too far? She'd whisper. Have we risked too much? It wasn't the first time she'd asked that question, but lately, Papa was taking longer to answer. On this night, he finally replied, Everything is fine, my love. This work is more important now than ever. Then his work wasn't magic shows, not really. My father must have been involved in something more serious when he traveled, something that made Mama anxious. Then she offered another question. Do you think Audra suspects something? If I did, then that was what I had, a suspicion of something. And Papa's assurance that I didn't know what they were doing began to feel like an itch I couldn't scratch. I needed answers. To get them, I secretly began listening in on their conversations, becoming so good at it that I could sneak up close enough to touch them, and they wouldn't realize I was there. One scrap of information at a time, I began to understand that something in my father's travels was illegal and dangerous, and Mama feared one day he would make a mistake and we would all be in trouble. Every discussion they had ended the same way, with their agreement to keep me out of their business. That is, until the summer after I turned 12. On the evening of the summer solstice, Papa said to my mother, Audra should come with me tonight. I immediately sat upright, wondering what made him suggest such a thing. He was seated in his chair at the table and began reviewing a card trick for tonight's performance. Laid out on the table was his brown leather shoulder bag, the one in which he carried most of his tricks. At his side was a tall canvas sack containing extra clothes and provisions for his travel from one village to the next. He wore that on his back and rarely traveled with anything more. "Did you hear me, Lena?" Papa asked, giving me a wink as he did. "Audra should come." Mama didn't even look at him to answer. "You're going on to other villages after the show. Audra won't know how to get back home." Mama was making a stew for the night, making extra for Papa to take with him. Her voice was usually soft and gentle, but I heard the warning in her tone. There would be no chance of me going. But he wasn't giving up. "We'll stay in our village square, and there'll be festivities all around. She won't be in any danger tonight." "How do you know that, Henry? People have disappeared from our village, and we both know why." "Audra is still young. Will the soldiers care about that?" My father set his cards down. "She must learn to see the world the way it is. The way our world is Audra is safer here. Ignoring danger does not protect us from danger. Let me teach her. I've been giving her this a lot of thought. She's better off if she knows." Mama crossed the room to face him directly, standing at my side. "Henry, we have an agreement." By then, I was sitting up even taller, trying to figure out what they were talking about. "What is the agreement? Mama, I want to know." Mama folded her arms. "You don't understand what you are asking." I lowered my eyes, considering her words, while Papa said, "But we do. We cannot refuse to teach her any longer. We agreed to do everything we could, but no more than that. Nothing that puts Audra in danger." "Is everything packed and ready?" "Yes, including the most important part." My curiosity sparked. "Can you show it to me, Papa?" He opened his mouth to answer, but Mama took his hand instead. "Help me carry in the milk," she said, pulling him outside, which meant they intended to finish talking where I couldn't hear. I hated when they did that, when they made it obvious how little they trusted me with their most secret conversations. If they couldn't trust me, then I figured there was no need to be trustworthy. Papa was carrying something away from here in secret, and I had to find out what it was. Okay, if you would like to read a little bit more from Words on Fire, you can check it out from our library, and it's available on Overdrive as well. So if you are a fan of Holocaust fiction or historical fiction in general, highly recommend this book, Words on Fire. Thanks for joining me.